the importance of agency and leaving space. In stories, we talk about characters having agency in terms of them making decisions that drive the plot forwards, for good or ill. They are able to act upon information and make decisions. In interactive stories, true agency would be letting the audience or player do whatever they liked in response to the unfolding and evolving narrative. They would be able to act and react as they would in the real world, which for many games or experiences just isn't feasible. In the case of The Lost Librarian, for example, this would be like letting the audience solve the final book by whatever means they liked, taking it apart, breaking it open, stealing it, or doing the same with the other books to reveal the answers they failed to unlock. Obviously, that's not practical for an interactive experience that is intended to be repeatable like our books. This degree of agency is impossible in branching narratives too, where you can only decide between the options you're presented with. And the same goes for sandbox experiences, in which you can only interact and make decisions within the rules and boundaries of that particular sandpit. Is true agency therefore a lie in interactive storytelling? In some respects, yes. There's always going to be limits on what you can do. The best option is to limit dissonance, to make the options and actions that the audience or player can take feel not only natural to them, but desirable. This requires a fair degree of planning and a healthy dose of psychology, especially when designing the narrative, the interactions, and choices in your story. One approach is to always offer the player the option to accept, reject, or deflect. This should in theory cover every eventuality, even if some of the options are actually cheats that lead to the same outcome as other options. Psychologically, it allows the player to express agreement or disagreement with an option they're presented with, or lets them deflect and change the subject and play for more time. Even if the plot still moves forwards and doesn't branch because of the option they've chosen, they've been able to express their preferred choice, and that will change how they experience what follows. For example, a child might accept, reject, or deflect when presented with going to bed. However they choose to respond, ultimately they'll eventually end up in their bed for the night, but the tone and feel of how they got there will be very different. Accepting might lead to more time reading with their parents, while rejecting might lead to more time arguing with them. And deflecting, well, that might become a playful game of stalling for time that turns into its own adventure. John Ingold of Inkle Studios gave a fantastic lecture that touched on this subject of accepting, rejecting, and deflecting at Adventure X, which is well worth checking out, the link for which is below. But less dissonance with the choices presented is still not true agency. How then do we empower the audience or player? Freedom, rather than agency, is a better way of approaching interactive storytelling. By offering good options, ones that align with what you'd hope and expect the majority to choose, you're providing a greater sense of freedom. Leaving space, by not explicitly explaining everything, the show don't tell mantra that is the heart of writing screenplays, is essential to interactive storytelling. It gives the audience permission to come into the space and own the narrative for themselves. At its heart, interactive storytelling is about empowering the audience, enabling them to decide and shape their own experience. We've covered a great deal of ground in this class. I hope it's been of use and will act as a springboard for you to explore and play with interactive stories. We're inviting audiences to participate in your own work. I suggest, as a next step, reading some of the books on the attached reading list and watching some of the videos suggested here too. But remember, take all of this with a hefty pinch of salt. Play around with and explore these ideas and use what works for you in your own writing. Thank you for watching.